Hi everybody and welcome once again to Jackalopes Fire TV. My name is Chuck. With me as usual is Scylla. This is our tribute, goodbye to Robin Williams. Earlier this week he passed away due to an apparent suicide, and depression had ruled his life for a long time, and he finally succumbed to it. Very sad, it's been a very long week.
It has. It really does feel like the whole nation's in mourning.
It does. This is one of those deaths that affected everybody. Normal people like you and I, me. Celebrities, dignitaries, people like Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
Just, we were talking Christopher Titus earlier. Everybody that ever met the man has said nothing but good things about him, and that's I think a tribute to his legacy.
Yes,
as he left behind lasting memories for everyone that ever met him of how great a man he was.
Mm-hmm.
I know for myself, I hear a lot of stories about. Not just about his humor, and he was a very funny man.
Yes.
But also his compassion, his charity. Something I never knew and just found out this week. He did a lot of USO stuff, a lot of supporting of the troops, going overseas and doing shows for them. But unlike a lot of stars, you hear them. I just got back from doing a tour of the troops or whatever. You hear them say that, and they're not really bragging. They're just saying that I just happened to do this. Robin wouldn't even do that. He was so humble about what he did that he just never advertised it.
And not just for the troops, it's also coming out how many sick children he visited.
Yeah, absolutely. He was, a Patch Adams to an extent, because doing that movie really brought that out.
I heard one story about he was visiting a hospital and was supposed to meet with chairman of the board director, someone higher up in the hospital, saw sick children and blew off the meeting and said, "I want to see every child in this hospital."
Yeah. For me, Robin Williams has always been my hero. I've followed his career since I knew what funny was. I remember watching Mork and Mindy as a very young child and catching it later in reruns.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime he was on Sesame Street and I found out about it, I would watch it, even as an adult. Popeye is one of my favorite movies. It's such a terrible movie. Oh, it's so it's so god awful. But he makes it magical because it feels like a live action cartoon.
And he did that with all of his movies, and he truly transcended generations because you do have Mork and Mindy that, like our parents, remember him from. Then you have my generation that remembers him as Aladdin's Genie, or from Jumanji, or Flubber.
Mrs.
Doubtfire.
Yeah.
And so he just, no matter who you are, what generation you're in, something he did touched your life in some way.
Yeah. He's been in the public eye for 30 plus years now. And so it's just it was an amazing career in life,
Mm-hmm.
but unfortunately it ended too soon.
It did. It was very unfortunate that he could not have the happiness that he brought to so many people.
Right.
And he did. He was so funny, so talented.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that I don't know about you. I don't know where you were when you found out. I was standing in Walgreens. I was in Walgreens Monday afternoon, I had to go pick up just some little crap. I think it was shampoo, as a matter of fact. And my phone binged because there was a Facebook alert. And one of my friends had posted something about it. And I did the natural skeptic thing and said, okay, somebody's pulling a prank.
I did that too.
And so I went and, standing in Walgreens, I opened up my browser on my phone and I went searching for news. And of course, by that time it was already being reported by CNN and a couple other outlets. And it was everything I could do to finish getting what I needed from Walgreens and get the hell out, because I was starting to break down. And even the lady behind the counter asked me if I was okay. And I told her. And she goes, oh my God. And everybody around me just kind of stopped what they were doing. And it was an interesting moment. It was a bit surreal, because I'm telling these people that somebody that everybody knows and almost universally is loved is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I saw one lady just... put her stuff down and go back out to her car and get on her phone. And you know that she was calling someone to share that moment of grief.
Mm-hmm.
And I came home and I cried.
I was at my kitchen table doing, studying for my math class and talking to my friend Jill at the same time. And she told me. And that was my first thought too, is Twitter killed another celebrity.
Right.
So I went and looked for a reputable source, and sure enough, and Dad was home sitting in the living room, and I told him, and he goes, no. So he turned on CNN, and of course it was
everywhere,
all over the news by that point, and we just kept it on CNN.
And it's such a shame. And it's like I said, he succumbed to one of the worst demons that's out there right now. And everybody's got their battles to fight. And unfortunately, depression is one that is so hard to fight. And
I do like the way you're saying he succumbed, because it's an illness.
It is. It's absolutely an illness. It's
and
a
that
disease.
Is something we are going to touch on very much in our next episode. I want to spend a lot of time talking about that, because it's been brought to the forefront, and his death is tragic and sad, but if anything good comes out of it, I hope that it is a more public awareness of what depression actually is, because there are so many misconceptions about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, the reaction to his death in Hollywood, I think the Hollywood reaction that kind of hit me the most was Mara Wilson. She played the daughter in Mrs. Doubtfire. And
I knew the name.
And it hit her hard.
Yeah. Almost as hard as it hit his own daughter, I imagine.
Mm-hmm. And she compared it to losing your favorite teacher. And to her, she was so young when she worked with him, that's exactly what it was like.
Right.
I mean, he was there during a very important time in her life. So her reaction kind of hit me. I still haven't cried about it. I've come close a couple times. The part that I was actually driving when I heard this. I was driving home for lunch one day, the day that they did the press conference, the police press conference. I was listening to it on Fox News Radio. And as the details were coming out, of course, that's always hard to hear. But the part where they were talking about the superficial cuts on his wrists and the knife nearby, that hit me hard.
Sure.
From personal experience. I almost had to pull over and take a second, because the wind kind of got knocked out of me when they said that. Because I'm a recovering cutter. I've been through that, and to hear that Robin Williams, someone who is so nationally loved and seems to have everything did the same thing to himself. Was kind of taken aback by it. But I think everybody is grieving in their own way. Whether you've shed a tear or you've chosen to just watch his movies in tribute. And that's what we did last night. You can watch, if you have an Amazon Prime account, his stand-up special, Weapons of Self-Destruction, is on streaming for Prime members, free. And we watched that last night. And some of it kind of gave you pause in his passing. Certain jokes he made are kind of like now, but the whole special was just so funny, and he just has this comedic timing that just, it's flawless, natural.
Right.
You don't see that very often, and he can switch characters at the drop of a hat.
Yep. That was something about Robin's stand-up that was always really awesome to watch, was the stream of consciousness. Mm-hmm. It didn't feel like it was something that he had rehearsed. It's almost like, okay, I want to talk about these things. How I get there, who knows? And that's all it was. It wasn't, you see these comics with their set list on their stool, and they check it every now and then. And Robin never had to do that. No,
they have talked about how on Mork and Mindy the writers would leave blank pages for Mork does his thing,
right,
and just let Robin go.
Just let Robin go, yeah. And that's part of what made Mork so special, was that it was just Robin riffing on a character, mm-hmm. and it's such a rare talent. Robin had it. Jonathan Winters had it. He's another one of those comics. While he's not quite as dirty as Robin, although he got kind of risque for his time, he had you could see that Robin was very much like Jonathan Winters, and it made sense that they became such good friends after mm-hmm. working together.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing thing. One of the funniest things I've ever seen Robin Williams do was on the Carol Burnett show. And it's this funeral scene where Robin is a mourner who is attending a funeral, and Carol Burnett is the widow of the man who has passed. And so Robin, in his own unique way, is condoling or extending his condolences to the widow. And it's an amazing thing to watch. And it was so good that they actually did it twice in the same episode. They did it in the normal sketch, and then Robin had so much fun doing it. He said, "Can we do it again?" And Carol let him. She said, she came on, she goes, we talked about it, and we decided we had so much fun, we're going to do it again. And so they went through it again, and it was a completely different skit, because it was just Robin being Robin. Mm-hmm. And it comes across so funny. It is one of the funniest things I've ever seen him do. And it's very early in his career, and that's not to say that he didn't stay funny. He stayed hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Weapons of Self-Destruction is one of his good ones, one of his great ones. Live on Broadway is a hilarious stand-up. I watched that with my mother when it first aired on HBO 10 years ago, or more. And God, it's been 12 or 13 years now. But anyway, and it was, again, one of those, oh my God, this is funny kind of moments. And it's just, and it's a hard thing to accept that that's never going to happen again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was always great in everything he did. Even if the show or movie itself wasn't great, he was great in it.
Right.
His last TV show, The Crazy Ones, was a great example of that. I wasn't a fan so much of the show, but I was a fan of him in it.
Yeah, and see, that one, I really liked the show, and I know it didn't get picked up. It wasn't coming back this year. But I loved it. I thought it was a great show, and part of that is because I love Robin so much. The special appearance by Pam Dauber towards the end of the season was very nice.
That was awesome. I'm even more glad we got to see that now.
Yeah, exactly. Sarah Michelle Gellar, surprisingly, it was actually a really good performance from her, because it shouldn't be surprising, because as a Buffy fan, I and other people have seen her do really funny stuff. Buffy is a very funny show from time to time, because of the writing, and she has the chops to pull off those comedic roles, but they usually keep trying to put her in dramatic roles, and she can't do just straight drama. She needs something to help balance her, and this show did a great job of bringing out the comedic side of her.
She was okay in it. I'm not a huge Sarah Michelle Gellar fan. She was okay in it.
Right.
The rest of the cast I felt was a little weak. I feel that's where the show fell flat. It was a victim of poor casting.
That could be. Although I really love the secretary. I think she did a great job. Of the supporting cast, she's the best.
Yes. The guys on the cast were weak.
Yeah, I will agree with that. But...
And I think had it been a stronger supporting cast, the show would have done better. Robin just wasn't enough to carry an entire show all by himself. And...
because it was designed to be an ensemble cast. Yeah, if it had been something that was all about Robin, Mork 2.0, then I think it probably would have been much more successsul.
Yes.
But
regardless, he was great at it. Even though we weren't huge fans of the shows, we watched it every week.
Right. Because it was worth it to see what he was going to do.
And the outtakes were the funniest stuff.
And I'm glad that they had those. Those are... you don't see outtakes enough these days. And that was
And Robin Williams' outtakes are the best.
They really are.
So, I know that he's got a huge catalog of work. Can you pick a favorite Robin Williams movie or project?
That's a tough one. I mean, because there are so many things out there. If you say, what's your favorite Robin Williams comedic role, it might be easier to narrow it down, because for that, it's Mork and Mindy. Even after all these years, from a straight-up comedy perspective, Mork and Mindy is my favorite. But if you go, okay, well, what about your favorite dramatic turn from Robin? And that one has to be Good Morning Vietnam. Because while Good Morning Vietnam has its funny moments, it is a dramatic film. It touches on some very tender subjects, especially considering when it was made. It was made during the 80s, when the whole Vietnam conflict was still a sore subject for a lot of people. And it treated it with the respect it deserved, while still having those Robin Williams moments. So for me, that one is probably my favorite dramatic role, although he's done several that are really good. But if you talk about favorite stand-up performance, Live at the Met, which was, I want to say it's the first one he did after coming clean, after getting sober. But then in a category all its own is Aladdin. His role as Genie in Aladdin. So it's hard. It's really difficult to say, this is my favorite.
I can't pick one favorite, but I can pick two. Of all the projects he's done, Aladdin and Mrs. Doubtfire are my two favorites.
Right. Aladdin was the first in a line of Disney films. And I realize it wasn't the first, because Beauty and the Beast came before Aladdin, and Little Mermaid may have as well.
It was Little Mermaid, then Beauty and the Beast,
right.
Then Aladdin.
And Little Mermaid's the first Disney film of that series, and that's what brought Disney back from the edge of disaster as far as their films go. But it was Aladdin that got me back involved in them, going, okay, let's see what they're doing. Because it was like, hey, Robin Williams is going to be in this movie as the voice of the genie. Okay, I got to see that. So I went to the theaters, I saw it, and I laughed, and I still laugh. Even today, I caught it because naturally, a lot of channels are airing Robin Williams movies. Disney Channel aired Aladdin yesterday. And so I kept looking up and watching it, and I could hear it. Because for those of you that don't know, I work at a cable company. And so we've got like 18 TVs that are all running something. So naturally, we don't have the sound on, because that would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
But unless there's football on, then every TV gets changed to football, and we have the sound on. But I'm sitting there watching this muted TV, and in my head, it's still, here we are 25 years later, or however long it's been, and I can still hear line for line the majority of that movie without having to really think about it. Mm-hmm. And I can hear Robin's voice delivering those lines, and no disrespect to Dan Castellaneta, who picked up the slack when Robin didn't come back for the sequel,
and in the TV series.
He does a good job as the genie, but he's not Robin Williams.
I think he did as good a job as anyone but Robin could have done.
Right. But that movie is so magical, and largely because a lot of that stuff is just ad-libbed by Robin. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's in a class all on its own. Mrs. Doubtfire is a fantastic movie, and it's heartwarming too, but mostly it's just funny, and the casting of that one was actually really good. Mm-hmm. Having him be Sally Field's ex-husband, and Pierce Brosnan being the new boyfriend, and just, it's such a good cast, and it's made into a terrific movie by not just by the casting or the writing or the general concept of the movie, but no one else could have pulled it off.
No.
And I've thought about that over the years, of like, who else could have done that movie and made it that successful? And I can't think of a single person.
No, that was definitely Robin, and I liked that particular movie because it was funny, but it also took on a serious issue the kids deal with, the divorce of parents.
Yeah.
And at the end of the movie, they didn't get back together.
No, yeah, it wasn't one of the parents got back together, and it ended well. Mm-hmm. For the kids and for the parents. But it showed the reality of divorce. It
wasn't a typical Hollywood happy ending.
Right.
And as a kid who has divorced parents, Dad hadn't really come in yet. At the time, it was very real for me. Mm. So that kind of touched me. And the chemistry that Robin and Mara Wilson had. She's such a cute kid. She's a very pretty adult, too.
I don't think I've seen her recently.
I've read, she's done some writing for Cracked.com. And very good writer. Very pretty. She doesn't think she is, but she is. She's grown up to be very pretty. But cute kid, and had great chemistry with Robin. She looked like she could have been his daughter. And they were so cute on screen. I think that father-daughter relationship on screen is one of my favorite parts of that movie, aside from the humor. But that casting was so well done. So that's definitely one of my favorite Robin movies.
Another one that came out a few years after that, Robin and Nathan Lane in The Birdcage. I love The Birdcage.
I have not seen that. I've heard a lot about it. I know it's on Netflix. So it's one I am going to sit down and watch.
Yeah, if it's a movie you've never seen, and I'll tell you now, The Birdcage is such a funny movie. And in a nutshell, it's Robin and Nathan are two gay men living in, I want to say Hawaii. I think they're on South Beach. And Robin's son, who is a straight man through Robin's previous marriage, is getting married. And so the in-laws have to meet each other, and they don't know that his father is gay and living with another man, And so hijinks ensue when Nathan Lane tries to be a mom, and Robin tries to be a man's man, and can't quite pull it off. And and the future father-in-law is played by Lex Luthor, Gene Hackman, and he's like running for Senate or president. He's a politician, and having gay in-laws will not be good for his political aspirations. So it's and that's just the tip of the iceberg. It is such a funny film. It's got what's his name? He's another one that does voices on The Simpsons. And he was in Mystery Men, and he was in Godzilla, and I can't think of his name to save my life. Anyway, but he plays the houseboy who walks around in these like fishnet tank tops and ridiculous Daisy Duke shorts and heels, and he's just so funny, and the whole cast is really good. Well,
Nathan Lane and Robin Williams together.
Yeah,
it's gotta
just
be
imagine.
fun.
Yeah,
it's Timon and the Genie.
Exactly. And this was after they had done their Disney stints. Nathan and Matthew Broderick, I think at the time, were doing the producers on Broadway. So it's around that. It's late 90s, early 2000s. It's somewhere in that neighborhood. I forget exactly what it is. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. It's the Birdcage. If it's on Netflix, that's awesome, because I'll probably end up watching it.
Yeah, I was looking for Robin Williams movies on Netflix. Specifically, I was hoping to find Aladdin or Mrs. Doubtfire. Neither one are there.
Yeah.
But that is one of them that I saw.
Another one that has always stuck out for me has been 8mm. 1 Hour Photo. It's one of those creepy ones. It's one of Robin's creepy roles, and Robin's done drama over the years, but having him be creepy was a interesting experience. It gives you chills watching that film. He's this, as it implies, he works at a 1 Hour Photo place, and he kind of obsesses over this one family, watches them grow through their pictures, and starts stalking them. And it's a twisted movie. And to have Robin Williams, of all people, play that role, it was very cool. He's got this little short buzz cut with blonde hair.
And I think people do forget that sometimes. He was an amazing comedian. Yeah. There will never be another like him. But he was a good actor, too. He could do drama.
Yeah, if you've never watched The Dead Poets Society, or Good Will Hunting, or... what was Fisher King? These are all terrific dramatic roles for him, and
I mean, he wasn't just a talented comedian; he was a talented actor.
Yeah, who happened to be very, very funny, and that's always been my thing. You know, you want to label people as to what they are. Robin there is no label for Robin. He was just Robin. He was very funny, but you don't want to just call him a comedian.
He was a talented entertainer.
Yeah, exactly. He's a talented entertainer. He's one of a handful of people that I always said, when the world loses them, the world's going to stop and take notice, and they did. And like I said, you know, I cried. I did. When I got home, and I had a little breakdown, and I'm okay with admitting that. You know, it is what it is. I think a lot of
people did. I was listening to, as I was telling you before we started, I was listening to Christopher Titus's podcast. They did their own tribute to Robin, and Titus got emotional talking about him. I think a lot of people have. He touched a lot of people through his work.
Yeah, he absolutely did. But, you know, we have to keep going. And all we can do is remember him.
And he will be remembered. He's got a huge body of work that, you know, we're going to be sharing with kids from future generations. I mean, Aladdin's still a Disney classic, if nothing else.
Yeah.
he'll be remembered for many, many, many years.
I think so. I think that his impact on pop culture over the years will be felt for decades to come. I was going to say centuries, but I don't want to put that much pressure on him.
No, but at least
certainly decades.
Absolutely.
Much like, I think that when it's all said and done, it's going to be a lot like people like Buster Keaton and W.C. Fields. That here we are 100 years after Buster Keaton's career was at its peak, and people still talk about him. And I think Robin's going to be remembered much the same way. 100 years from now, people will still go, if you've never seen a Robin Williams film, you need to watch this. Mm-hmm. Whatever it happens to be.
There's a lot of celebrities out there, and whenever a well-known celebrity dies, it's sad.
Yeah.
There's not a lot that truly get remembered so well over the decades. Elvis, John Lennon,
the icons.
Iconic people. Marilyn Monroe, James Dean. These are people that they died decades ago, and you can still find memorabilia out there because they were that beloved. And I think Robin Williams fits in that category of icons.
I agree.
There's not a lot of comedians. I mean, we've lost comedians before. Mitch Hedberg, Greg Giraldo didn't have that kind of impact. This is iconic.
Right. This is, for me, this impacts me more than when Michael Jackson died. And
absolutely. Me too.
Michael Jackson is certainly one of those that the world mourned for ever, it seems. And people still, miss Michael Jackson so much and things like that. Mm-hmm. For me, this is a bigger deal.
Me too.
Especially because of who the man was and the unfortunate side that we never knew about.
Right.
So.
No, this is definitely bigger to me as well. I'm trying to think if there's been another celebrity death that's impacted me this much, and I can't think of one off the top of my head. Not one in my lifetime.
The only one that I can think of that impacted me at all would be Elvis, because he died the year I was born. So obviously did no direct impact on me, but directly leading to my mother and father divorcing. So, see, that's have I told you that story?
I know that story.
See, that's funny.
Not really.
Yes, it is. I'm trying to lighten the mood a little bit. I'm going to tell them the story. Our dad and my mother, because obviously we have different mothers. We've talked about that. Dad had the option to go to an Elvis concert, and this is late 70s. This is I'm not born yet, and it turns out it was his last tour, and he had a friend of his at work offered him tickets to go. Dad had already seen Elvis. Kind of a been there, done that kind of thing, let somebody else go. And then made the mistake of telling Mom. And she had never seen Elvis, loved Elvis, would have died to get a chance to see Elvis. And found out that Dad just gave the tickets away without even talking to her about it first. And she swears to this day that that's the reason they got divorced.
It's not.
It's not, because they didn't get divorced for 5 more years. But it's a funny story, I think. But no, realistically, no celebrity death has been as impactful in my life directly as this one.
John Lennon died in your lifetime. Did that impact you?
It really didn't, because it was again, I was too young. I have to imagine that what I feel is about what Dad felt when John Lennon died, because he's the Beatles guy, and when Paul and Ringo pass, because George Harrison's death was a little bit like, oh man, that's the closest I've come, because by the time George Harrison died, I certainly knew who the Beatles were and was much more of a fan. And when Paul dies, I don't know about Ringo, but when Paul dies, I'll probably mourn a little bit.
I will,
because Paul McCartney has influenced my life much more than Ringo Starr has. No offense to Ringo, he's a good musician, just not as prolific in my personal life.
Well, and personally, I'm much more of specifically a Paul fan than a Beatles fan.
Right, because Paul's done some great things post Beatles. Wings was an amazing band for all those years. So,
but yeah, I think this is the biggest celebrity death as far as impact on my life in my lifetime.
Yeah.
He's certainly iconic, and he certainly will be remembered.
Absolutely. He will be. So.
It's kind of hard to even really know what to say.
So. It is. It's very difficult. And usually, I'm the one who always has something to say. And even me, it's left me speechless a good portion of this week.
And that's pretty much how I was when I found out. I didn't cry. I just kind of sat there in shock. Like, how can this be real? Especially once I found out it was suicide.
Yeah.
I was just kind of left speechless. And really, what can you say?
Right.
But he will be remembered, and I think my feeling on it is, while I do hope that this whole tragedy raises depression on awareness, I do hope that ultimately Robin is remembered for his work and not the way he passed.
Yeah. And I think he will be. I think that much more, and especially as time goes by. Right now, yes, a lot of people are focusing on how he died. But I think as time goes by,
I hope that doesn't ultimately taint his legacy.
Yeah, that will just kind of take a back burner, and people will remember him for what he brought to the table.
As he should be remembered, because he brought a lot.
He really did. But anyway, that's our time.
That is. And if you have any comments or want to share any of your stories about Robin Williams, your favorite moments, feel free to drop us a line on jackalopesafire.com, our Facebook or Twitter. And I know I'm certainly happy to talk about Robin Williams moments with anyone. Yeah,
absolutely. And sometimes it's a great way to go, oh, wow, I've never seen that. Let me go find that. That's how the Carol Burnett thing came around. Somebody else showed me that.
I see, and I've never heard of that. I'll probably be trying to look that up now. So, yeah, we're always happy to talk about it. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Nano.